to Charlotte.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah, and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. It's really, really good to see you. As I said, sorry, we are running a little bit late, but we were expecting 59, so we just wanted to give everybody a chance to join the session. So for those who don't know me, my name is Charlotte Lune-Hudson, and I'm a program manager in a team called the Person and Community Centred Approaches team. That's part of the wider Population Health Directorate. And in my role, I lead on social prescribing and the personalised care workforce, but also involved in broader work around personalised care and mainly within the primary care. So I oversee the peer support networks and ensure insight and feedback from our workforce survey and the peer support sessions shared with the appropriate partners across the system to feed some of all that really valuable insight back. And those are shared with might be employers, program leads, training providers, and so on. The feedback and insight that I'm sharing upwards is always anonymous, and that is to ensure that we always have a safe and confidential space when we get together. There's 3 parts to today, and I'll be delivering the first section on the context due to my role as program manager and being involved in this kind of work since 2018. And I'll now pass on to Sarah to introduce herself.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. Yes, so I'm Sarah Payne. I've been delivering this network, the GM Peer Support Network, since October 2023. And so because of that, I'm now going to be covering the section around what does that network actually involve? What is the opportunity when you join it? And how does the expansion of this network, which is kind of reaching a wider frontline workforce, mean for those joining today and those that would wish to be part of the network and its future developments. And then there'll be a section that Bridget's going to cover. I'll let you cover that one, Bridget.
Sure, thanks. So my name is Bridget Wells, and I am a therapist, and I also am a clinical supervisor. And the skills that I use in supervision and training are the things that I can bring to the peer support sessions, so that we've got different models and lenses to look through when we look at complex difficulties that people encounter, and also the impact on yourselves when you work with people who are struggling or feel despairing and hopeless. Those things have an impact on us. So that's why this is such a wonderful opportunity for you all to connect and hear from each other and hear about each other's work. And I'm really excited that the organizations have sought this and are creating this opportunity. And this is a testing phase to hear about how it might work. And looking forward to hearing Charlotte and Sarah's contextualizing and then hearing your thoughts about how you might enjoy this type of an opportunity, as well as just trying to start to think about what might help that and what might get in the way of that.
Thank you both. So a little bit about why we're here today. So Sarah, if you go to the next slide, that would be great. There we go. So why are we expanding our peer support network? Well, as an integrated care system, there's a lot of focus on how we can better support and encourage integrated neighbourhood working across within our localities. And you might already have seen or heard about our joint forward plan, maybe the primary care blueprint or the Live Well, depending on where you're based within our GM systems. And they all highlight the value of building stronger communities and working through integrated neighbourhood models. But with this very heavy strategic push, it's vital that we create the right conditions for the frontline workforce to thrive, making sure you got the support you need and the enablers needed to do joint working. And whilst it is very much system-led and decided from sort of a strategic point that we're going to go ahead in this way of working, we also know from you, the workforce on the ground, that being more joined up across health and social care would make a big difference both for you as the workforce, but also for the people that you support. So we've therefore joined forces with the combined authorities, extending our current peer support network to include workforce from social care, local authority, alongside the existing personalised care health workforce. And Philippa is our partnership link for that work, and Philippa very helpfully introduced herself a few minutes ago. So thank you for that, Philippa. So today we're here to introduce the testing phase, proof of concept, many names, but it is a testing phase basically of an extended LiveWell frontline peer support network. That's such a mouthful, isn't it? And it's the first in a series of events where we'll explore and co-design what the future of this network could look like to achieve these three objectives, three key goals. The testing phase will run from now and until October. So three main goals we're trying to achieve is providing the space for vital peer support. It's fostering integrated working across teams and identify shared learning and training needs. We already have a structure in place with elements we know that's been effective in the existing peer support network, but we are taking the opportunity to further develop and refine. And your voice and feedback is essential for this. So we will be asking for a lot of feedback, comments, questions, good learning, all that kind of thing throughout the whole period. That is sort of what's going to make this happen more than Bridget, Sarah and me talking, really. There's also going to be opportunities for locality leaders to feed into the work, and we'll be sharing our findings along the way and ultimately make recommendations of how an ongoing network could or should look like. Next slide. Thank you, Sarah. You are on the ball. So as I mentioned in the intro, we've run a peer support network since 2019, and initially it was established for the link worker role, the social prescribing link worker role, as it was introduced in primary care. And because it was a new and non-clinical role within a primary care setting, regions were funded by NHS England to set up networks to support that integration. And in 22, I put 23 on the slide here. That is an error. It is 22. Health and wellbeing coaches and care coordinators joined the network, and we created a space for both the individual roles to have peer support, but also a space for all three roles to come together for mutual support and to enable partnership working within primary care. And the learning and insight from that have continuously been fed back to employers and primary care in general. So while social prescribing grew, personalised care had a lot of attention. Andy Burnham also then developed his LiveWell vision. And the vision is for people to access support where they live, with stronger communities being able to respond to needs and wants of its residents. And over the last couple of years, lots of engagement, co-design, face-to-face events have taken place with partners across Greater Manchester, and LiveWell have now developed into a more tangible model, and is one of the three key priorities in Andy Burnham's manifesto. A key element to the LiveWell model is better integration of services and multidisciplinary practice. I can never say that word. I will go a bit more into what that emerging model looks like and how it relates to your role and this network over the next couple of slides. So what is LiveWell and how does it relate to you and the peer support networks? If we go to the next one, Sarah. So the Mayor's Manifesto is for everyone in every community to have daily access to support and advice to improve their physical and mental health and socioeconomic status. So for LiveWell to work, we need to act so that great support is properly funded and available within walking distance in every locality in Greater Manchester. So LiveWell is building on the great work that's already happened in Greater Manchester over the last 5-10 years at least. Both the contribution of the voluntary sector in keeping people healthy and managing their conditions while supporting wider needs, but also building on the work you as frontline workforce have been doing, supporting people to navigate through life, and the positive impact the person-centred roles have had for many years. We know there's amazing work already happening in communities to support people to live well, but we also know there's system barriers getting in the way of this growing and flourishing. And Live Well essentially is about enabling our system to provide everyday support for everyone, the neighbourhood models. So just to highlight this, there's a lot of text on this one. It's because we are going to share the slides with you, but I won't give you all the details, but there's 3 key elements. So a neighbourhood model means that multi-agency teams are working within footprints of 30 to 50k population. It's integrated and person-centred services within the neighbourhoods. And it's an all age, all public and voluntary service model. So all partners are coming together to deliver that support. And the next one, Sarah, please. So to support more integrated neighbourhood working, through this network, we'll be testing out what's most useful for you as a workforce and for the system. So it's going to be looking at our time together, is going to look at how we best support relationship building and partnership working across services. It's understanding what are the building blocks and barriers to this happening on the ground from you. And it's to explore what support and training is needed to have a strong workforce that feels well supported and resilient to support people facing multiple disadvantages. So we'll test this out GM wide. So this is a GM forum with opportunities for sessions where we all come together, but we will also spend time in locality specific groups because we know each locality is very different in terms of workforce, what's already existing and in place within that locality, infrastructure, etc. And our joint learning will, over the next 10 months, will be used to make recommendations for a permanent approach after our initial period of testing. Just to make Live Well come a little bit more alive, there's some emerging features of Live Well that we're sharing on the screen. So we got Live Well Centres, a front door to support and advice. It's Live Well Spaces, that's informal, community-led spaces in hyper-local settings. Live Well offers is a minimum level of coherent and consistent support across all 10 localities. But they're not all going to be identical because each locality is different, but there will be a minimum level that's the same across. It's the multi-agency neighbourhood teams. It's Live Well Easy Access, so that's digital access to find help and support for those that don't need additional support. It's a Live Well workforce that are working holistically and person-centred. The community power is the community voice and decision-making power so that they become an active part of developing their community. And the last one is around the community wealth creation. So that's funding and sustainability for our voluntary sector so they can keep supporting around health and well-being. And we've included a couple of examples of how working different can look like. I'm not going to go through them, but they're there for you to read about after the session. It might bring it more to life. And you might even know some of these if they're from your own locality. So the last bit is, so our vision for the people and our system in the context of our workforce support and what we try to achieve through these 10 months is that for Live Well, that we understand more of the elements needed to create and support multi-agency teams and how we best work to support people where they live. And it's aiming towards barriers between the services are broken down. And the vision for you as the workforce over the next 10 months is to build on resilience and strong relationships for local support, is that we have a frontline workforce with shared values and approach, and a workforce with strong relationships that enable joint working. It's trying to lessen that feeling of being on your own, but that there's a sense of we are in this together. So briefly to recap, The feedback from you as a workforce will be fed back to share good practice, barrier support and training needs. That feedback is going to be making the case for an ongoing network, as well as inform the further development of Live Well. You'll be happy to know that's all from me. It's a lot that I've sort of loaded on you. So just to get you involved a little bit now, we've got a little bit of a quiz covering what I've just shared with you. There's no chocolate, there's no prize, sadly, but it's a minute for you to reflect. So if you go to www.menti.com, either on your phone or in your browser, and enter the code 76007026, then that would be great. Do you want to move it on, Sarah? Because I think the Menti code. So if you didn't put the Menti code in, you can see it at the top of this slide now. And you also got the code. So the question is, Live Well aims to deliver either everyday support in walking distance or medical centres in walking distance. And I'm delighted to see it's everyday support in walking distance. Brilliant. Thank you. So the next one, Live Well neighbourhood working means. We'll just see. Yes, that is brilliant. Fabulous. I was going to say if anybody got it wrong, they had to do a push-up, but, you know, luckily none of you have to do that. Yeah, we are going through them just a little bit quick because hopefully it's time enough for you to answer. It's amazing. Brilliant. So on this was a little bit tricky, actually. It was a bit naughty of me. I put in B, tell you how to work with people. Actually to use the opportunity to say that that is not what we're going to be doing. So you are the experts. You know how to work with people. You know what is needed. You know what you need. So it's support. It's feeding your voices back. It's definitely not to tell you what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Next one, Sarah. I think this is the last one, and then it's over to Sarah. Fabulous. And there's actually no wrong answers on this one because they're all features of Live Well. That's fantastic. Thank you. Really appreciate you playing along. We'll move on to Sarah.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. Well done, everyone. That was fantastic answers. So promising. Let's hope there's a little similar quiz at the end of my section. So hopefully you'll be answering correctly there as well. So as you've probably got the kind of sense from Charlotte, this expansion of the network, it's all about expanding it for you. You are the network, you are why we're doing this. So you are the foundations of the GM Peer Support Network. And subsequently, because you're the foundation, we need to evolve the things above. So we've got lots of elements as part of the network, which I'll speak to. And we're evolving that during this testing phase. So we haven't got it all sorted. We don't know everything about your all the roles that are going to be joining, but working closer with Greater Manchester Combined Authority and the frontline workforce joining and interest in the network, we hope to evolve these things with you. So we will be creating those resources, giving you that voice and a platform and resources to do this. And hopefully that will provide opportunities to enable you to share more, support each other more, generate ideas and good practice between yourselves, as well as developing this network to suit you and your needs. So there's aspects of this network that kind of internally influence each other. So by being part of the peer support sessions, sharing your experiences of your role, by doing the annual workforce survey, which it's closed for the personalised care workforce, but it's going to be opened up to the Greater Manchester Combined Authority roles. And by being a champion, you really get to shape the newsletter, the training overview, and the introductory sessions, which are those sessions that help welcome those that are new into their role or new into the network, or for those members of the network that would like a refresher. Perhaps they've been very busy and have missed a few things and would like to kind of reconnect with the network and what support we offer your role. So one of those really important influencing elements of the network is being a champion. So what do I mean by this? It's kind of a really good opportunity to influence the development of the network, working with myself, Bridget and Charlotte, to make sure that we are meeting the needs of your role and your area, so that this offer is suitable. It's also giving you opportunities to further kind of take responsibility that reflects well in terms of career development. And there may be opportunities to sort of support your peers, and therefore that's the sort of qualities you're looking for in managers or in supervisors, if that was a career progression you were interested in. So if that is something you would like, I'd love to get more involved, I'd love to represent my area, my role, and really sort of take up this opportunity, then I will be sending more information about kind of what it involves. But you can just pop me an email and say, I'm interested in exploring this opportunity with you. There are still some champion roles that the personalised care team, but there's quite a lot of them already joined. But we really are wanting the wider workforce that are joining this network to come forward and be part of this fantastic opportunity. So what has this network involved and why? The network has, as you've heard from Charlotte, it's evolved to respond to the needs of the social fire link workers originally, and then the care coordinators and health wellbeing coaches, that kind of personalised care workforce. And subsequently, we've developed these components being part of it. So we've done quarterly peer support sessions. And the only thing that's really changing in this testing phase is that we're increasing the number of those joint group peer support sessions, and we're reducing, just for this testing period, the number of role-specific sessions. I will describe a little bit more about the difference between the two. But that's the main change in this period. But we're still going to be delivering the bi-monthly newsletters, the monthly training overviews, giving you the opportunity to be a champion, having an introductory session that's happening in February, and we're giving everyone the opportunity for the annual workforce survey. So that's a survey where you can talk more about your experiences in your role, and we can understand what's happening from your perspective.
Sarah, sorry, were you meant to change your slide for this one? Because you're still on the champion slide.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I am. I've got two in front of me. Apologies, everyone. There is this beautiful slide. Thank you, Charlotte, that I was talking to on my own. So here it is. It's reiterated here with all the beautiful things as to why we have these components. So to reinforce those components, we have the peer support sessions, and they really do offer an opportunity to really understand each other's roles, to kind of share goals, to problem solve together, to understand good practice and share amongst each other, perhaps posing some questions that help us explore our own source of knowledge and our own ability to deliver within our roles. We have a newsletter. Obviously, it's an opportunity to share and keep everyone up to date. So if you're experiencing something fantastic, you can share with us, and we can share that wider through things like the newsletter. We can then therefore highlight some good practices and anything that might be happening in local areas or across Greater Manchester will feature in that newsletter. The newsletter is a broader communication tool, whereas we've got the training overview, which is more regular. That's the monthly training overview, and that's more tailored to, as you can hear, training. So helping with opportunities that you have around your role, or generally the frontline workforce that we think would be really useful. Again, if you're experiencing fantastic training, you can let us know, pop us an email, and then we will make sure that it's highlighted in that training overview so that we are constantly sharing really good resources together. Then there's that champion role where you get to represent your peers, you get to kind of offer peer support to them, predominantly in that sort of breakout rooms, which we'll have in peer support sessions. And as a result, myself, Bridget, will be able to give you that additional support in order to do that. So there's real opportunities for advancing your career in that role opportunity. Then there's introductory sessions that I've touched on, where that's more of a deep dive of the actual what is in these resources, what's kind of what are the training that's recommended, what are kind of the data capturing tools that I need to perhaps use, what network opportunities are there in my local area or that supports my role nationally. So we've got quite a lot of really good resources that we pull together and we share with you as you either join your role as someone new or join the network, and as members who want to kind of have that refresher. Then there's the annual workforce survey that's yearly, where you get to share your experiences and help shape future workforce kind of, what areas perhaps need improvement, what do we need to celebrate, what good practice is being highlighted in your responses to that survey. So we use all that to really shape the network, and I hope you can hear that kind of evolving of the network. But in terms of the actual peer support session, so if we take that very specific element of the Greater Manchester network, it is a facilitated space. It's facilitated by Bridget in this testing period and myself. Historically, it has just been myself and sometimes with Charlotte, but we've got additional resourcing with Bridget to ensure a well-facilitated peer support sessions. It's also got breakout rooms, so that's where peer support will come in. And it's a real space to explore your own knowledge and expertise and share good practice. You probably identify common issues and solutions, and hopefully also network, as we've done a little bit today. Being able to be on camera, share faces, introducing ourselves is really important as part of that network. But it's really also important to highlight it's not supervision. So what you get in your workplace in terms of line management supervision or clinical supervision, and that's very focused on your client work and your client related challenges. This is very much more about your role and supporting and enabling your role. So whilst those might feed into kind of how we can enable and address some barriers within your role, it's not the main focus. So the kind of structure is that we have the joint peer support sessions will have locality or themes that the 10 localities have been identified across Greater Manchester, and themes that come up across your roles. They inform that space. So when we're in that peer support session, you get to develop individually, you get to support each other to develop. It's a well facilitated, and hopefully the things that you learn, things that you share will in effect help you in your organisation as well, and maybe some good practice shared for organisational development. So following that session, there'll perhaps be actions that you might want to follow through, anything that might help improve your working situation and your role. So I've spoke a lot about the peer support, and I said I'll explain a little bit more about those two formats. So here it is. There's two types. There's one that is role specific, and what I mean by that is um, the care coordinators, the health and wellbeing coaches, and the link workers have their own peer support sessions separately to look at their experiences as one of those roles. So they kind of get to share amongst each other and break out into themes as to what supports them in their role. The other, which is more of a focus for this testing period, is that joint work. So that joint peer support session includes everyone. All the roles come together, and it's more focused on kind of breakout rooms against locality. So this is, you need to be a member of the network, so that's quite key. So if we don't know that you want to have this support and have this opportunity, and you're not joined the network, then that's problematic. So we'll send you a joining link for those wider network that's joining us today. Obviously, there's members already with us from the personalised care workforce. So we really kind of an opportunity here to hear those experiences and support each other in a well facilitated space. And just to add, because I did forget to mention that it's both online and in person for the joint session, and I'll show you the timetable of all of this in a moment as well. That's a great opportunity that we're doing in this testing period. So in summary, the benefits of these peer support sessions to really share your experience and go beyond those surface level challenges is really to help you understand and connect ideas to improve your working practice, and perhaps even relate your own experiences and enrich your practice. You'll probably learn, and hopefully will definitely learn, about others' roles that will help connect. I may need to connect with this other role in order to support my work with this client. So in the summary, and I know I've gone through this quite quickly, and I'm sure you'll answer all the questions, right? In summary, this is what the timetable of activity will look like. We've got these sessions in January where we're explaining a bit about this expansion, this network, and how we're going to test and understand these roles and how we can come together, even broader frontline network to support your roles. In February, we've got one of those peer support role specific sessions with for health and wellbeing coordinators. And on the same day, we've got our first champion meeting. So it's really important for those in local authority roles to join the network and let me know if you're interested in being a champion, because our first champion meeting is on the 11th. Then we've got our welcome session. That is for new roles, people who would like a refresher. Perhaps some of you who have joined in these co-design sessions would like to hear a little bit more about the network itself. I'm more than welcome to join that session in February. Then when we go into March and April, we'll have our joint session. So this is our first joint session in March, online. April, we'll have our second one. And then in May, we'll have a bit of a break from the joint sessions. Our champions will reflect on how was that and give us lots of hopefully juicy feedback that we can inform future joint session working. Then we'll have peer support specific sessions for our link workers and care coordinators. And then in June, we'll have our first in person, which is a real novelty in a way, because we've not managed, due to lots of reasons, budgets and all sorts, to have sort of an in-person opportunity. But also we need to know whether in-person is appropriate for a Greater Manchester offer. That's also been one of the main reasons we haven't, because where do you choose in Manchester that everyone can get to? There's, with 10 localities and such a vast area, it has been difficult, but it would be great to test out, understand the value of an in-person and what that might look like. And then in July, we'll have our last online joint peer support session before hopefully, and this will be confirmed with the champions, we'll have one more opportunity with the champions to get their feedback before we collate all this learning and share that in learning sessions with wider stakeholders and yourselves about what have we heard from you, what would be really useful as a network moving forward if it is going to continue as this wider frontline expansion of health and social care. So, first question is around what is not involved in the Greater Manchester Peer Support Network testing period. So if anyone, I'll just put the QR code back up. So what's not involved? So there's only perhaps one thing, just to give it away, but I have spoke about bi-monthly newsletters. I spoke about monthly training overviews, peer support sessions, annual surveys. Have I mentioned conference before? And the network champion role. So, and I heard some pings. I think we've kind of, some people might have needed to nip off, but we're getting some responses that are resoundingly correct. So well done. We're not offering a conference. We are offering a joint in-person session. And we hope to kind of really design and understand a conference need during this testing period, but we're not necessarily offering a conference this time round. So well done all for getting that correct. What are these sessions called when we get together? Because I've actually used a bit of an action learning set model, but it's not really action learning set. There's been mention of having a facilitator with the skills of clinical supervision, but is it supervision? Or is it purely a peer support session? We're here to well facilitate, bring our skills to support you, to support each other. And you all got that, which I had no doubt that you would, but wanted to reaffirm. And what is the Greater Manchester Peer Support Network champion? What does it involve to be a champion of the network? Is it about supporting peers in a similar role? Is it about co-developing the network? Is it about committed engagement? And is it about role modeling good practice? I don't think I've been able to trick them out yet, Charlotte. I think they're more, oh, there's a bit of some people don't think it's awful when actually it is. So me and Charlotte have been a bit nasty, aren't we? Kind of tricking you with ones that have all answers are applicable. So it is all of those things. And we really do hope you'll consider being a champion. How long is this testing phase? And we're kind of just actively talking about what we really wanted to have done. Is it starting next year? Or is it about it started now, we're introducing it to you this month, and we're going to move it forward to the October, where in September we'll have those learning sessions. But we're hoping to have a real robust network in place to support you as a frontline network. So well done, everyone. You haven't missed the boat. And equally, you're not having to wait a year for something so fabulous. So good news is you're part of it now, and that's the main thing. I am going to give you a chance to digest a lot of that information at this point, as well as pose any questions you perhaps want to do in the chat or anonymous, I can't say that word, anonymously.
People are already engaging with the question. Wonderful. If people are coming back from their break, please have a look at the slide and give us your thoughts. Yeah. Hopefully, we're welcoming everybody back again from the break. And we're just looking at answering this question because I guess what links us all is the people we work with, and connecting with one another about these enormous things that people have to face can be helpful to know we're in the same boat, and know that different practitioners will hold different parts of these things that the people we work with have to deal with. And part of the peer support sessions will be about learning about what bits of those different things different roles of people work with. And so, some part of that space could be about asking one another what exactly the role might fulfill. Would you say, Sarah?
Yes, sorry, I am unmuted. I thought I wasn't
Darn.
muted. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So you might be able to signpost a bit more because you've got more of an idea of what other opportunities or services might be out there. I saw Charlotte nodding, so I guess we could go to the next slide as well. But just having a look at these, so many of those, there's things where you just feel hopeless, you feel like, or helpless, I guess, more than hopeless, helpless, that these issues are very, very big and enduring and aren't fixed easily. And that means you as workers are holding that, you're holding people in mind sometimes throughout the day, throughout the week. And it's that weight and that sort of impact on yourselves that the peer support sessions can be really helpful and supportive for. And things are still getting added, so I will move on because I'm aware of our time limit. Thanks so much. So I'm sure you all have a sense of some of the feelings that your clients have about these enormously difficult things, these things. So maybe just add your thoughts. The next slide is also, I think, yeah. And just to apologize that I haven't put many positive words there. I've just said one word, it's determined. And the reason for that is that the weight of this work is usually around the more difficult feelings and experiences. And that's the type of thing that, we can give each other support in those spaces, those peer support sessions. Thank you. So in peer support sessions, we might reflect on and value the reasons you chose to work as frontline support workers. I've made assumptions, and I have heard from workforce surveys and discussions with Sarah and Charlotte, and I understand that people are in these roles because you want to help reduce people's suffering. You probably believe that people who struggle to help themselves deserve some help. You want people who struggle with things to be able to help themselves and not rely on your service in the future. And that can be, there's a mixed feeling about that sometimes, because I guess we engage with people in the hope that they won't need us. So there's sort of person-centered relationship building, because that's such a strength in the work that you do. And that you will not work with them for forever. So you might build good connections with people, and you also have to let them go. So that's, that can have an impact on you as well. You probably believe that when people are given the right support, their problems can become more manageable and they can thrive and not just survive. I think that goes for us as well as helpers. And when we're struggling, we've got huge caseloads that we feel are unmanageable or very stressful, we might also not be thriving. So, understanding maybe what's getting in the way of working really well and really efficiently will help you thrive. And I guess what we're saying is that those spaces can encourage more understanding of what's getting in the way, and more opportunities to learn how you can be supported to do your job really, in the way that you want to and need to, and clients need you to be able to do. So just thinking a little bit more about giving you some ideas so that you can give us some of your ideas how these spaces can be useful. What could more participation in peer support sessions look? So that's, that's social care and healthcare coming together. What could that bring? We want to give you a few ideas to help you shape what you'd like them to look like and what you think might get in the way of them working really well. We will expand on this question when we do these future meetings and the day event. This is just a start to start us thinking about them. You could share your biggest struggles and feel understood and valued. You could share your favorite tools and resources. You could offer some suggestions or problem solve and hear other practitioners' ideas. You could feel more resourced and re-energized, more hopeful and resilient. You could be informed about local resources. Just thinking about the emotional weight of the work that you do and thinking about how you might cope with that. The next slide is open-ended question, so you can type and think. So this is just 5 possibilities, but I'd welcome your feedback on those. Looks like talking with people is a really highly important thing or a highly valued thing, which is wonderful. That means peer support sessions will be continuing to support that. I'm going to move on to the next slide, which gives you, I'll wait another minute. The next slide gives you an opportunity to write your own ideas. Oh, maybe it doesn't, sorry. Sorry about that. I thought it did. You'll get an opportunity to fill in things with open-ended questions in a bit. In peer support service sessions, we can think about trauma stewardship. This is about not burning out by sharing the burden, the impact, or working with individuals who have a lot of early trauma and complex struggles. When you care a lot, you have a big heart, and you can get pulled into over-rescuing. And that might be that, you feel like you're getting asked from people you work with to have a quick fix or a thing that will sort this stuff out. And it's hard. It's hard because there's not always direct and quick solutions. When you're tired and feel under-resourced, you can get pushed into being more floppy or more rigid with your boundaries. But when you feel safe to be yourselves, you can feel open to new learning and you can feel nourished. What will you need from the peer support session space is to feel trust and open to being supported, to new learning. What will you bring to the PSS groups to help others feel safe and open to learning? So I'm just posing those questions to help you think it through, really. Over here on the images, I've got our client, And we've got the frontline worker saying that it just takes ages to fall asleep because they're thinking about the people they want to help and just can't see a way forward. And, sometimes, we do take our work home with us, especially when we feel really connected with people. That's the strength of the work, really. It's just having that balance. And I think because it's complex and there's a lot of balancing, that's why those peer support spaces can be so helpful. Through open discussions, you could help one another to build understanding of the complex difficulties your clients must navigate and potentially inform one another of changing challenges and opportunities. The complex struggles your clients have can sometimes lead you to feel helpless too. In peer support sessions, we might view the difficulties you see through different lenses, and that might help you navigate the challenges that you face in your roles. You might want to use the peer support sessions for professional development and gain more learning of how to use different models of understanding. That's a few ideas. So this is what would you hope to gain from being part of the peer support network? I'll give you maybe 3 minutes to add into there if you can. If you haven't got access to the Mentimeter, you're welcome to put things into the chat boxes as well. Right, yeah. Feeling like you're part of a wider team as well. Wonderful. Yeah, it would be really wonderful if barriers can be shared and, because different people have different hats on, they can have, different angles of viewing the difficulties. These are wonderful. Yeah.
Scroll down a little bit so we can
I don't know
see
if I
the
can.
responses.
Yeah. I don't know if I have to go to my
Oh, you should be able to just scroll on the page with your cursor.
no.
Okay, don't worry.
It looks like it's possibly finished there. 17 responses. We can share the responses that people have given, can't we? So people have an understanding of what other people are thinking about.
Absolutely, yes.
Brilliant. There's space to group responses. To group responses, though, so I like to put them together. I'll go on to the next slide if that's okay. What might help you to get the most from peer support sessions? So this is kind of thinking about the structure of the spaces. And if you think about Zoom or Teams, where you might feel more comfortable sharing your thoughts and maybe your uncertainty, it can be quite a vulnerable space if you don't know the people or don't know much about the people you're with. I think sometimes it can be unnerving if you're in a meeting and you can see people moving around behind that person and you don't know, have they got their headphones on? Are we sharing confidentially? I guess I'm pretty sure after this slide there's open-ended question.
Yes, there is.
Cool. Thank you.
Great seeing these answers are very helpful.
Yeah, it is. It is. Brilliant.
I think we get an average of about 10 people, which gives us a good indication of.
Yeah.
I just noticed that one of them says about whether it's recorded or not. In the past, we've not been recording those peer support sessions, just to be absolutely sure that you know, if you edit a recording, you know, you might still be a bit concerned whether it's going to be edited enough. So we don't typically record those, but we do share sort of what people have been sharing, but in a more general
Yeah,
way.
it's
And
a written recording. It's a
it's
written
written.
capturing, like this is the value we've been getting from it, but it's not a video recording, so that it's kind of
Exactly. Yeah.
more free. Yeah, brilliant. And I think is the different levels of workers, Charlotte and Sarah, could you say something about that, of who might participate in terms of managers or line managers?
Yeah, so we don't invite managers to the peer support sessions. So where it can be a little bit difficult is where you've got let's say a social prescribing link worker that are working as a link worker, but they also have a senior role in their team, and that's where we don't want to exclude that person, but we also realize that that person have got senior responsibilities, and that can be a bit tricky, but it's not we don't see that a lot, so it's something we have to consider on a
We do
individual
always
basis.
update to Charlotte on if someone's progressed into a more senior role. We don't always get to know that, but that's why it's really important to keep us updated if your role has evolved, because we are in touch with managers, we provide them equally some support and insight, but it's not the same level of support that we offer for you in these peer support sessions that we do. But yeah, that can also, and like Charlotte said, it's very few times, but that can also arise.
Brilliant, thank you for clarifying. And I guess if there's themes and topics and things and learning that higher management need to know about, then that can be a negotiated process of, oh, this sounds really important, and not just to stay in here. You could have lots of nodding, and yes, you can bring those learnings beyond that peer support session. So you can vote on these as well, but I think I'll move on to the next question. What might get in the way of you getting the most out of these peer support sessions? And it can be risky to be vulnerable with one another, with people you don't know well yet, or but hopefully as it becomes a reliable space, people can feel more and more confident and more open, and that can allow more support to be given, as well as more wonderful ideas and thoughts and insights shared. This is just to add if there's things that you can think of that I haven't put on the previous slide. Mhm. Mhm. I guess that having space to have a voice might be mitigated, might be not too difficult if we have breakout breakaway rooms. And there are smaller groups, more people have more talk time. I guess, how many people do you think take part in these things, Sarah? How is it hard to know?
It's really varied. We are trying to obviously work with our network members to identify good times of day. So I think a Tuesday morning seems to be quite a popular time. We've had sort of a real range, but I think the upper range is around 60.
Yeah.
Just thinking sometimes our role specific and joint, I suppose previous challenge in a joint session where we have been kind of breaking out in localities, we've had to join localities up and haven't always had enough representation from each, as in maybe just one person. So we're hoping actually by a wider workforce and people coming from Greater Manchester and perhaps being able to join, we'll always have a good representation of people in that locality, because that can really help with sort of relating to one another and a shared like place that you're sort of speaking to. And so breakout rooms of partly why we use Eventbrite to know who prior to is joining, so we can organise those breakout rooms as well and try and make some of those decisions. But we appreciate that sometimes things on the day happen, and so with all the best plans, the breakouts can vary somewhat in number.